Ladies and gentlemen, the Nintendo Switch 2 is out and it is an amazing console. But I cannot stop thinking about the Nintendo Switch, which gave us almost a full decade of incredible games. And just because the Switch 2 is out, does not mean the Switch is not still putting out some amazing games. And in this video, we're going to talk about 10 incredible Nintendo Switch games that came out in the last few months that you probably missed, that you definitely need to know about. So let's go and get right into this video. Yes, the Nintendo Switch 2, a very cool console, but we're not here to talk about this. Get this out of here. Whoa, did it break? Did it not break? You'll never know, because we're talking about the Nintendo Switch today. This is a Switch Lite. Yeah, it's still a Switch. You'll be all right. The Nintendo Switch is still incredible. I found myself messing around with it randomly, and the Switch still has some incredible games coming out. And with all the hype being around the Switch 2 and Switch 2 games, you probably missed these incredible Nintendo Switch games. They're hidden gems, I guess you can call them that, but man, these are incredible, so I gotta talk about them. So before we get started, if you could hit a like and subscribe, that would truly mean the world to me. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter so we can keep these communities growing, and let's just start talking about these games. The first game we're talking about is a game called QUARTET. 8 heroes, 4 stories, 1 destiny. A series of unlikely train robberies, a mysterious deck of cards, a fleet of deadly airships, and accidental mage. Choose from 4 stories in any order and discover how they intertwine in this turn-based RPG. So maybe you know about this game or maybe you played it, but a game that this reminds me of is Live Alive, which is originally, I think, only released on the Super Famicom, and then on the Switch it got a real proper Western release. That is one of my favorite JRPGs of all time. I don't think it's like the best of all time, but I think it's so interesting how there's just like all these games you can play. And then another game that this reminds me of is obviously the Octopath series. So that's what this kind of feels like to me, a mixture of those two. And man, I need more of these games in my life, right? So yes, if you're not into this whole RPG turn-based thing and then intertwining paths, you probably won't care. But if you know, you know, right? These games are awesome, and I have a funny feeling that this one is going to be looked back on super fondly, at least if we can get more people to play it. Now let's talk about a game called Call of the Elder Gods. And this one technically does have a Switch 2 edition as well, but it also has a Switch edition, right? So that's why we're talking about it. You will unearth ancient horrors in this Lovecraftian narrative puzzle adventure. Professor Harry Everhart tries to ignore the shadows flitting at the corners of his vision, while student Evangeline Drayton is haunted with the impossible dreams of an artifact uncovered a decade ago. In the search for answers, the pair will uncover revelations more ancient than anyone could have imagined. So obviously, I already said this is like a Lovecraftian adventure, but it also reminds me of like some Sherlock Holmes stuff as well. And forgive me for not knowing about this other game, but I guess this is like a sequel or like a successor to Call of the Sea, which I went back and looked up and it looks pretty interesting. So this is a sequel to that, or like the game following that. And a lot of that game's object and observation based puzzles returned with new depth. There's a lot more clues and a lot more details. So yes, these games are not going to be for everybody, but this is awesome. They did an incredible job on this. The graphics, art style, you know, I'm a sucker for that as well. And I love a good mystery game. Now we also have to mention a game called CONSTANCE in this video. And it was funny because the whole build up to Hollow Knight Silksong, like every day, you know, once the game I think got an official release date, they were dropping trailers and there was all this hype. And then I would see the developers of CONSTANCE also like kind of cross promote on Twitter, like, yeah, you know, if you like Hollow Knight Silksong, we're also making a game that's pretty similar to that. CONSTANCE is a 2D hand-drawn action adventure featuring a paintbrush-wielding artist striving to escape from a colorful but decaying inner world created by her declining mental health. Utilize paint-based mechanics to experience a constant state of flow, dive into the ground and walls, and slice through air and enemies. Yeah, it's a Metroidvania, but the platforming in this Metroidvania is so precise and so good. And unfortunately, like they were kind of joking about, this game did get overlooked or overshadowed because of Hollow Knight Silksong. So if you're a fan of 2D platformers or Metroidvanias, this is one game you don't want to miss. Now let's talk about a game that is completely bonkers called MULLET MADJACK. MULLET MADJACK is a high-octane action shooter that puts you directly inside a classic anime. Essentially, it's like 90% arcade fun and 10% of a roguelite. In the future, man and internet have merged into a new being. This being needs dopamine every 10 seconds or else it will die. You are MULLET MADJACK and you must kill enemies to refill your 10 seconds of life. Beat handcraft stages at random, full of exciting new obstacles at each chapter. Also, you need to memorize each room so you can compete for better times, and then, obviously you'll do better, get better power-ups, better abilities, whatever you want to call it, right? What this game reminds me of is those Jason Statham movies, Crank. If you've ever seen those, you'll know exactly why this game reminds me of that, because he has to keep like shocking himself and doing all this stuff to stay alive. And that's what this game reminds me of, because you have to keep killing enemies to stay alive. It's madness, it's crazy, it's high octane like they said, and it's one you don't want to miss. So one of the games that I thought looked cool, or I guess kind of interesting, but I thought, what's really going on there, was a game called Vampire Survivors. Then I finally got around to buying it, almost like it was a chore, right? Like, I guess I'll try this. And I put like 20 hours into it in like a week or two. There's a sequel to that, and it's a game called Vampire Crawlers. And this is the turbo wildcard from Vampire Survivors. This turns the snowballing thrill of Survivors into a hyper turn-based card-driven blobber with roguelite elements. Build busted decks, explore familiar dungeons from a new perspective, and unleash world-ending combos. Either take your time and be tactical, or play turns as fast as you humanly can. The outcome is always accurate. We call it hyper for a reason. So essentially, if you liked Vampire Survivors at all, you're gonna fall in love with this one. It's so unique how they turned it into like a turn-based card game, I guess. One great thing and easy sell about Vampire Survivors is the game was fully priced at $5, and Vampire Crawlers is fully priced at $10. So this is a game that you just throw on the Switch, you play for a couple hours, and you can keep coming back to, or it's one of those games that you just play for a minute and then somehow 50 hours have went by. Now let's talk about a really weird game called KLETKA. KLETKA is a co-op game, up to 6 players, or you can play by yourself. Horror game about going down in an elevator that is trying to eat you. The most dangerous criminals are convicted and sent to KLETKA. Your sentence is to descend into the depths of the gigastructure while maintaining a living and hungry elevator. Never forget to feed it if you don't want to end up being eaten alive. KLETKA is omnivorous. Be ready to feed it both fuel and flesh. What's really cool is the gigastructure is an endlessly expanding building, so traps and anomalies will fill the corridors, and any step you make could be your last. Now what's funny is you can team up to like 6 people, right? And then these are your friends or whoever the hell you're playing with, and you could work together. But you could also like sabotage them and then turn those friends into fuel for the elevator. And what is the art style? Like PS2 graphics, almost like a mixture of early PS1, PS2. It's just weird, it's out there, it's different. And yeah, I'm a big fan of this kind of stuff. CHAINSTAFF is a brutal action platformer with a transforming spear and grappling hook, blazing weapon upgrades, and a rocking soundtrack. Your planet is under attack from star spores, and they've warped life on Earth into ferocious uber bugs. Even worse, a nasty alien has made its new home directly attached to your head. But it's not all bad news. Your new best friend has provided both the strength to fight back against a mutated horde and control over a weapon that can tip the balance of the battle in humanity's favor, which is called the CHAINSTAFF. So this game is really unique, right? Because, the gameplay is awesome, the premise is really cool, and I could be wrong, this could just be my personal opinion, but the art style and graphics almost feel like a mixture of multiple games. Like I can't really place it, it's like this kind of looks like this, but then that kind of looks like that. Yes, this game has stuff that is similar to other games, or maybe gameplay that might seem a little familiar, but there is nothing out there like this, and I mean that in the best way possible. So CHAINSTAFF on the Switch, man, it's just one of those games that I think is definitely worth checking out. Now let's talk about an insanely unique game called MOTIONREC. So MOTIONREC is a recording puzzle action game, and you probably just said, well, what the hell does that even mean? Well, let me tell you, Buster. You use the ability to record your own movements and then play them back elsewhere to explore a world of devastation. So essentially, let's just say you walk from left to right on the ground, right? Now you can record what you just walked and you have a straight line. And then maybe you get to another part of the level or the game or whatever the hell it's called, and you need to essentially get from one side to the other, but there's no bridge there. Well, you've already recorded that movement of going left to right, so then you kind of just use that movement of going left to right, and it builds an impromptu bridge. And it is such a unique system. Very simple premise, right? But just done right. And then you can obviously do that going in other directions, like up to down, and man, so unique. Again, the art style, I'm a big fan of this kind of simplicity done right. And yeah, I guess this is a hidden gem technically, but definitely worth playing. Another game I want to talk about is a game called Primal Planet. Unveil a heartfelt story of family, dinosaurs, and UFOs. You know, those are all the buzzwords for a person like me. What the hell is going on here? Embark on a thrilling journey as you follow the gripping tale of a cave dweller fighting to protect his family, survive a brutal T-Rex attack, and uncover a narrative blending the wild and intriguing sci-fi twist. So the developers reached out to me about checking out this game, and then I'll be honest, I completely forgot about it. I get a million emails like this, and I just completely forgot about it. Then I just randomly checked out this game, which is funny because I had a review code in my email, and I was like, why does this game sound so familiar? And I was like, oh man, they sent me a review code for this. So it's kind of funny how like it was a full circle moment. This is a really special game that flew under the radar, but yeah, this is one I definitely have to recommend. And the last game I want to talk about is a really cool game called Cassette Boy. In this world, what you do not see ceases to exist. And you might say, well, that's how every world is, right? Is the moon there when nobody looks? This is a question that Einstein famously asked. At first glance, Cassette Boy looks like a charming pixel-style adventure. And it is that. But beneath the surface lies something more complex. What seems like a flat 2D pixel world is in fact three-dimensional. By rotating the environment, the boundaries of existence shift. So, wherever you're looking is only what you see. And you might think, well, I need to go over there, but there's no way to go over there. So then you turn left or right, and an entire other world opens up. It's a really unique system where revealing hidden paths or making obstacles disappear happen simply by shifting your perspective. And it's not just about solving puzzles. You'll also gather weapons, face monsters, and challenge powerful bosses as you uncover the secrets of this strange and fragile world. So again, it's one of these games that has such a simple art style, or it looks like something from back in the day, and they were able to find their own perspective on this game. And I'm saying perspective with quotes because, that's kind of the whole gimmick here. So Cassette Boy, man, what a cool game. Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. Even though the Switch 2, I don't know why I have my hands like this, there's not a Switch 2 here, is Nintendo's golden boy, the Switch still has a lot to offer. And obviously, if you have a Switch 2, you can still play all these Switch games, right? So yeah, these are some really cool games that came out on the Switch that you probably overlooked that I wanted to highlight. So in the comments below, I would love to hear from you guys. Just start a conversation. Let me know any Switch games that you're playing that I probably missed, right? So if you made it to this part of the video, if you could do me a favor, hit a like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter so we can keep our communities growing, and consider becoming a channel member because we're streaming every single Thursday right here on YouTube at 8 p.m. and I'd love to see you over there. And you guys know me, I'll see you very soon with a new video. Peace.